Retro Ghetto.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the Retro Ghetto. So slightly different format for the midweek video this week. It's going to be a bit more in the vlog style. We are going to be going on a game hunt, but before we go on that game hunt, I want to explain why it's going to be done with a slightly different focus. Basically, things have got to change. I love this room. I love the 3.0, and if you've been watching the channel for any amount of time, you'll know what went into making this room, right? The building of the 3.0 was a dream come true for me. Many years went into planning for it, and you know, many thousands of pounds went into paying for it, and I absolutely loved not only the journey of building it, but curating it, organising it, and filling it, every element of filling it, whether that be getting all the initial things that I already owned in here, or if that is what we do every week here, we go out hunting for games and stuff and finding new weird and wonderful video games and accessories and toys and stuff to add to the collection. I love doing it, but whilst we're at a point where the game room looks better than ever in my opinion, we're also at a pivotal point. We're at that point where it looks better than ever because everything's full. The shelves are all full. Nothing looks better than full shelves. No empty spaces. It looks great, but we are in danger of tipping over the other side. I've definitely sort of had that epiphany of I've got to slow down to some extent, and that's what this video is going to be discussing. We're going to be looking at my collecting habits and how they've got to change going forwards, and then we're going to go out and do a game hunt and buy some more stuff, but like I say, with a renewed focus, so we'll get to that in a bit. So yeah, what is clear and obvious, and I should point out immediately, is I'm not going to stop collecting and I am not going to stop going out hunting. That's just who I am, and that's what I love to do. That's one of my passions in life. So that's not going to change. But what does need to change is the things that I'm buying and potentially letting things go. So let's take a look at that. So a couple of vlogs ago now, we thinned out the PlayStation 2. So I took out some of the filler titles, some of the games that I don't envisage myself ever playing, really with the focus to make room so I could have this fantastic piece forward facing. But that kind of strategy is something that I also need to adopt with Nintendo Wii for sure. Some of the Nintendo Wii can definitely be thinned out. Looking at some of this lot, the chances of me playing it are very slim. I was kind of going for a full Wii Lego set, but I don't need all the titles on the Lego. I've got a lot of these. It's probably more accessible for me to play these with the kids in the future on the Xbox 360, for example, than it is to play it on the Nintendo Wii. And there's various other games in here which, yeah, the chances of me ever playing Shaun White snowboarding games, or, you know, even the Sonic games, the Spyro games. I think I buy games with the focus of collecting because they're big franchises. It's Sonic, it's Spyro, but in reality, I don't know if I'm ever going to get around to playing them. Topspin 4, just because I enjoyed Wii Tennis. Do I need Topspin 4 on the Wii? Probably not. So that's the sort of thing that we need to be doing. We need to be thinning out systems just to generally create more space in here and have more all-killer, no-filler shelves. Now that all-killer, no-filler mentality is only going to be applied to certain systems. I'm still going for full sets. I'm still going for the full Super Nintendo set. And it's probably time that I explained the plan for the Super Nintendo, because people keep asking me where you're going to put it all, because as it stands I am just over halfway, but as you can see, whilst this wall looks amazing, listen, everybody's game room is the best game room to them because it's theirs, but I don't think there's a better display on YouTube than this. I absolutely adore this backdrop. Super Nintendo cardboard, colour coordinated. Yeah, to me it don't get much better, but something needs to change because we've got this many games to add again. So I'm going to share with you now a plan I've been working on for quite some time as to how we're going to future-proof the Super Nintendo area. So as you can see, we're in dire need of doing that because at the moment I've got games down here. These are double stacked. There's games stacked up here, and a lot of these are very valuable, very rare Nintendo cardboard games that are just getting thrown anywhere because there's nowhere else to put them. The plan going forward would be to have a secondary shelf of this nature. So I believe there's over 100 games here. I can quickly count. Right, okay, so there's 116 games across the bottom. Once I fill in this gap here, roughly 120 games. So the plan would be to take off one of the forward-facing shelves. So I'll be left with 3 forward-facing shelves as opposed to 4. And the way I would do that is I would have to flip this shelf here. So this shelf currently, they all sit like this, and all the games sit in that lip, as you can see. But if I flipped this upside down, the easiest way for me to show you is exactly what I've done here with the Mega Drive. So I flipped this shelf upside down, as you can probably see. There you go, look. And then that gives you that flat surface, so you can then sit games like that with the spines on show. So that is basically what the plan will be over here. I'll flip all these shelves around so that we can have 2 rows of these games. So yeah, that would give us a lot more space for Super Nintendo games. We'd have 2 lots of spines going forwards. In an ideal world, everything would be forward facing, right? I've just told you how much I enjoy looking at this, but such is the reality, you have to eventually accept the space that you have. So I think we're going to end up with 2 rows of spined Super Nintendo games, and that should forward face me. Sorry, that should future-proof me for quite some considerable time ahead. The next area for us to focus on is Xbox 360. Now, this has definitely become a problem area. Reason being is there's so many great games in this catalogue. I love collecting for it, and if I had the space, I'd probably go for a full set just simply because why not? There's so many games I'm enjoying buying. I'd probably just keep adding to the collection until it was done. However, there's so many in the set, I don't have the space, so we are going to have a different approach to Xbox 360 collecting. I don't want to leave this area, and I don't have the space to extend it. So this is very much the 360 collection going forwards. Whilst we do have a bit of space here to grow into, and we could potentially flip some of the forward-facing collector's editions to their sides and to save a bit more space, what I'm going to do going forwards is pretty much a one-in, one-out policy. So there are quite a few filler titles in here, just things that I've picked up over time that I could easily live without. Let's try and find one, for example. I mean, like, a prime example would be Grid. I don't need a promotional sealed copy and a standard copy. That's just one example of many things in here. There's also a lot of sleeve covers or special editions, and I also own the basic version of the game. It's not necessary to have 2 copies of games. So I think going forwards, what I'll be doing is being a lot more choosy with the games that I purchase for this system. I mean, if you look at the prices, and again, the recent CX price increases, that's not a bad strategy anyway. But also do a one-in, one-out. So keep this as pretty much the layout. And if I add 5 games, I demote 5 games, whether I put them in storage or I get rid of them, whatever that may be. And I think that's how we approach Xbox 360 going forwards. And I'm more than happy that, because I love this area. I think it looks great. And yeah, I don't feel the need to sort of extend it beyond what it currently is. So we've looked at the systems that I'm either going to be thinning out or just changing the way in which I collect them. But now it's time to talk about where my focus is going to be going forwards. And like I say, I'm not really going to slow down collecting. I've always been a collector since I was a child, whether it was collecting stickers, pogs, toys, whatever it may be, CDs. I've always collected something. That's not going to change, and I think it will be video games for the rest of my life, because it's just a combining of 2 passions of mine, playing video games and collecting, and for me it's the best thing in the world to collect. So having said that, how am I going to maintain the prolific collecting habits of somebody that loves to go out every week hunting? Well, I'm going to focus on things which take up less space. Nintendo Switch is a start. Now, I'm not doing that purely because, oh, it takes up less space, because they are shorter boxes, they're much more narrow, and you can get a hell of a lot of them on one Billy bookcase. Also, as I've said many times before, it's arguably the greatest system ever made. If it wasn't for nostalgia, I'd probably say it's the best system ever made. So for me, it just seems like a perfectly natural system to go into more hardcore going forwards. Really something I'm going to put my focus into. Also the fact it's a fantastic games library. Also the fact that I think now's going to be in and around the best time that you're ever going to get to collect for Nintendo Switch. The reason I say that is prices are finally starting to drop a bit with Switch games. You can buy the odd Switch game now for £10-15, which wasn't something you could do sort of 18 months, 24 months ago. Certainly not in abundance. And I think what often happens with life cycles of consoles, as the new console comes out, let's call it the Switch 2, that's when the older Switch titles will start to drop. In and around that time, people will start to sell their Switch collections and their Switch consoles in abundance, and then they'll pick up the Switch 2. We don't know exactly how that's going to look, because the Switch 2 could just be an extension of the Switch. It could basically be the same thing. They could be the same boxes selling the same games. I don't know. No one really knows what that's going to look like yet, but I envisage now and in the next year, 18 months is the best time to buy a Nintendo Switch game. So I don't think it's going to be a bad place to put my focus from a financial point of view either. And like I say, I just absolutely love the system. For me, it's one of the best libraries ever made, because you've not only got the best of modern, you've got retro, you've got all the Nintendo IPs. Yeah, it's just a fantastic library. And often I sit here on this chair, this is my seat, I look at that and I think I should really have more Switch games. But because the price has been where it's been since its release, yeah, I just probably don't buy as many as I'd like to. So we're going to do something about that. Going forwards, that's very much going to be a focus of mine. And yeah, we're going to be buying a lot more Switch games. Not only Nintendo Switch though, because you guys know I love buying retro, and whilst I'm obviously going for the full Super Nintendo set, I also have a similar-ish problem with Mega Drive. There's only so many that I can fit in the room, big heavy plastic boxes. Something that I've really learned to love, and certainly love collecting for in recent times, is PlayStation 1, which is such a turnaround, because that was the system that I never used to care about, and ironically, reducing the size of that collection made me fall in love with it. I sort of halved it almost, or maybe got rid of a third, turned it into an all killer, no filler, and then I just kept finding more killer titles. And like now I can think of 20, 30 games off the top of my head that I would love to own for that system. So that's two of the video game consoles that I'm really going to push for over the next few months, maybe years, is Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 1. Also with the PS1, it's not a nostalgia thing. I had a chipped PlayStation 1 as a child. For me, it was like we had a spreadsheet. We used to pay £3 per game. All I ever had was copied burnt discs. So for me, it's almost like learning a lot of that, learning that library. And that's something that really excites me as well. So yeah, they're definitely two of my areas of focus going forwards, as well as something else which is behind me. Lego minifigures. So it's not just video games that I love collecting, right? I love toys, accessories, point of display, standees, lighting, everything. But like Lego minifigures is definitely something which works in terms of the scale. So obviously I'm currently building my Roman army. We're hoping to turn that into more of a battle scene. As time goes on, I really want to get creative, not just in displaying the individual minifigures, but building a terrain. I want to use my Lego building skills, or learn some Lego building skills. I want to build landscapes. I want to build a battle scene. And I don't just mean figures fighting. I'm talking sand, river, hills, mountains, castles, you name it, right? So that's definitely something that's on the cards going forwards. And again, moving away from that, I might delve into the minifigure collecting world anyway. Not just the Roman army, that will remain, but also the weird and wonderful and the rare and expensive minifigures that are out there. And I've always had this kind of vision of having like a continuous run of minifigures around the whole room. So you know, like we've got the light, which runs the perimeter of the whole games room. Something similar with Lego minifigures, where there's something can sit above it, or we can find somewhere in this room to have a continuous strip of minifigures just running the whole way around. That's always a vision I've had in my mind, and that's something that I would like to bring to fruition as well. So those are probably my three areas of focus. They're all smallish things. They're all things that I can certainly add a lot more of to the room. And yeah, they're things that excite me. And that's what we're going to do. I'm going to head out tomorrow, actually. We're going to go on a game hunt. I'm going to go with that renewed focus. Who knows? I might find something. I might find nothing. We're going to be particularly looking for Switch, PlayStation 1, and to a lesser extent, Lego minifigures. I'm not going to find them probably in my locals. But hey, who knows, right? Let's see. So yeah, I'll see you tomorrow when we go on the hunt. Okay, so I'm headed to my locals with a slightly different focus than usual. As we've already discussed, I'm going to be trying to concentrate more on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 1, things that I enjoy playing, collecting, but don't take up a lot of space in the games room. So with that being said, let's hit up all the spots. We've got a game, we've got CX, of course, charity shops, and yeah, let's hope we can find something for those collections and we can go home with some bangers that don't take up a lot of real estate. Let's go. Okay, so back from my locals, and there wasn't too much on the shelves. In terms of PlayStation 1, decent selection, but nothing which would earn its place on my all-killer, no-filler PS1 shelf. And there was definitely some interesting Nintendo Switch titles, however. A couple that I might be looking into a little bit further, that I might be adding to the collection going forwards. But on this day, nothing that I felt like I had to add to my collection. However, I am not entirely empty-handed, because I have been able to add an absolute banger to my Nintendo Switch collection. This is a game which is so beautiful graphically that I don't even care that I don't necessarily like the genre. It's a turn-based RPG. Apart from Pokemon Red and Chrono Trigger, I don't really do turn-based RPGs. It's just never really been my thing. But as soon as I saw a snippet of this game and its fantastic visuals, I think it was on Nintendo Direct way back in the day, I knew I was going to have to buy this one, because for me personally, being a huge fan of modern retro, this is as good as it gets. I don't know if there's a more beautiful game in existence than this one. It's absolutely stunning. And if anything, I just want to support the developers, because I want to see something else from them going forwards, which we'll get to in a minute. But that game is Sea of Stars. So this is a 2023 role-playing game developed by Sabotage Studio, and it's actually based in the same universe as their previous title, Messenger, although this one is set a few thousand years before that. The Messenger is also a fantastic game. Sadly, I've only got it digitally because the physical became very expensive. I missed out on it on launch, but yeah, if you haven't played the Messenger, make sure you check that one out as well. Sea of Stars sees you take control of two heroes named Valerie and Zale, who utilize the power of the sun and the moon to fight against an evil alchemist, as well as the dreaded turn-based combat. There's also lots of puzzles to be solved here as well, but guys, the elephant in the room, those visuals, you'll be seeing it for yourselves. Yeah, it's everything I could want in a game, and I love supporting developers that put a lot of love into games, and clearly they've put a lot of love into this one, and I'm hoping that their next outing might look like this, but maybe an action RPG. I think maybe I'm asking for too much there, right? But yeah, that's certainly what I would like to see, and yeah, definitely a studio that I want to keep a close eye on, because big fan of both the Messenger, and if this one plays anywhere near as good as it looks, I'm sure I'll have a good time with this one, regardless of the turn-based combat. So yeah, really excited to add that to my collection. Make sure you let me know in the comment section below if you've played Sea of Stars and what you think of it. And that's not all the Nintendo Switch that I'll be adding, because I've actually picked up a couple of bangers courtesy of the Amazon Prime Day sales. It's not arrived yet, so I'll be showing those on Sunday's vlog, but really excited to share those with you guys as well. So I'd love to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think of my plans, my collecting focus going forwards, and if you've enjoyed this video, let me know via the like button. As always, a huge thank you for taking the time to watch. Play your games, keep it retro. I'll see you on Sunday in a bit.
You're watching the Retro Ghetto.
Ghetto.
Ghetto!
Yeah!
Lock into the retro ghetto. Come and have a look around the ghetto. We got Sonic and Staples settle. Lock into the retro ghetto.